Hi everyone, welcome back to my Australian Open 2018 vlog. This is Wasim Parkar, and today we are going to preview day 5. But as is the norm on my vlog, I'll start by reflecting on the day that just passed, day 4, which made all the headlines for the heat. Folks, it was crazy out there. Lots of players suffered. Temperatures touched 40 degrees Celsius, and it really was something to see. I think the quality of tennis did suffer as a result. Very few matches featured both players playing at full tilt at the same time. It was quite tough for the players out there. I guess the big stories, I'll start with the women's side. Two big upsets. Garbiñe Muguruza, the third seed Wimbledon champion from last year, lost to Xu Sui in the second round. It was a match in which Garbiñe never looked comfortable. She really struggled with two things. A, she struggled with the heat. She talked about it even after the fact. And she wasn't able to play in her comfort zone against Xu Sui, the 88th ranked player from Chinese Taipei, because Xu Sui kept giving her different looks, different paces, different spins, and Garbiñe was never able to find a rhythm with her ground strokes. Her backhand misfired terribly, and even more pertinently, Garbiñe plays well. She's in the zone when she serves really well, and she wasn't able to serve well yesterday at all. So Garbiñe Muguruza, one of the favorites before the tournament, is now out. Another seed, ninth seed Johanna Konta, who's made the quarterfinals and semifinals at the Australian Open, is also out after losing to 123rd ranked qualifier Bernarda Pera. In fact, Pera was a lucky loser who only got into the main draw because of another player's injury. She actually lost in qualifying. So this is a huge upset. She lost 6-4, 7-5. Konta, again, another player whose serve wasn't firing. In fact, there were times where Pera was just pounding returns on Konta's serve, and ultimately it was quite a deserved win for the unheralded Croatian American. So Konta, unfortunately, will not be able to repeat her previous good runs at Melbourne. It's quite a fall for Konta since reaching the semi-finals at Wimbledon. She really hasn't been playing well. Early exits have sort of become the norm. So there's definitely some thinking for her and her new coach, Michael Joyce, to do. It looked like Agi Radwanska was also going to join the list of upsets, but she pulled through in three sets against Lasya Serenko. Maria Sharapova beat Anastasia Sevastova. She looked very comfortable. She won the first set in just 23 minutes. In the second set, she started to make more errors, but still pulled through with her better shot making. Angie Kerber beat Donna Vekic. There weren't that many other notable upsets on the women's side. On the men's side, also, we had some upsets. The most prominent of all, Stan Wawrinka losing to Tennis Stingren in straight sets. Stan later said that it's no big surprise for him even competing after those last 6 months of injury was a big thing. So clearly he wasn't match fit enough, but hopefully this was a first step on the road to recovery, which will enable to compete at the slams later in the year. Another upset was Sam Querrey, US Open quarterfinalist, Wimbledon semifinalist. Another player who struggled with the heat, lost in four sets to Martin Fusovic, so he's out. And then David Goffin, who many considered bit of a dark horse to at least reach the semifinals. Of course, Goffin coming on the back of a tremendous end of the year where he made the finals at the ATP Year-End Championships, beating Roger Federer in the semifinals. He lost to 36-year-old Julian Benneteau in four sets, so that really caught me off guard. I expected Goffin to make a deep run, but he is also out. A lot of the other men didn't have the most straightforward matches. Even Roger Federer won in straight sets, but the margin was really only two breaks, a break in the first set, a break in the second, and in the third set he had to come down from a break himself before sealing it in a tie break. So really quite a tough day for the players. A few upsets, but many of the big fish still survive. Now, on day 5, we're expecting another hot day, but this is the third round, folks, where the seeds start to play each other and the fun starts. So I'm going to particularly look at five matches. two on the women's side and three on the men's side. Now, the first match that's really caught my imagination, and I think every tennis fan's imagination, features Marta Kostyuk against Elina Svitolina. Now, Marta is only 15 years old. She is the youngest player to make the third round of a Grand Slam. She's from Ukraine. She's taking on a compatriot, Elina Svitolina, the fourth seed. Now, Svitolina is the bookmaker's favorite to win the title. I'm not so sure because she hasn't even made a Grand Slam final yet, and previously she's shown herself to be mentally quite fragile, capable of collapsing when she's near victory on the big stage. In fact, even in the second round against Siniakova, Svitolina had to dig deep and come through in three sets. You know what, folks? I'm going to go out on a limb over here and I'm going to call an upset. I think the 15-year-old is playing so fearlessly. She's going for her shots. The pressure is on Svitolina. The expectations are high on Svitolina, and I think that's going to affect her. So I'm calling Kostyuk to win in straight sets. Yes, I'm calling her to win in straight sets because she's just going to hit through fearlessly. The other women's match that's really interesting is Yelena Ostapenko versus Anett Kontaveit. You can call this sort of a Baltic battle of two young hard hitters. Yelena Ostapenko, of course, the French Open champion from last year. Anett Kontaveit had an excellent grass court season and is always a dangerous opponent. Now, both these players love to hit the ball hard off both wings, forehand and backhand. So I'm expecting lots of great shot making in this match, and I think it's going to go three sets. And I'll give it to Ostapenko because Ostapenko is just that little bit more consistent with her heavy hitting, whereas Kontaveit, as a match goes on a bit longer, sometimes her hitting can go a bit awry. So I'm going to go for Ostapenko in three tight sets. Over to the men's side, one round of 32 match that's caught my attention is Pablo Carreño Busta versus Gilles Muller, two players who made a surprise splash at the Grand Slams last year. Gilles Muller, of course, making the quarterfinals at Wimbledon after beating Rafael Nadal. Pablo Carreño Busta making the semifinals at the US Open. Now, they've played each other three times before, and Pablo Carreño Busta leads the head-to-head 2-1. But the one time that they played at the Australian Open, Gilles Muller won in straight sets. Now, on a hot day, if Carreño Busta can dig in, make some rallies long, then I think he is the clear favorite. However, these courts at Melbourne are playing fast, and with Muller's serve and volley style, especially on his first serve, he has the weapons to damage and overcome Carreño Busta's defense. I think I'm going to go with Muller in four sets, though you can't rule out the dogged Carreño Busta. Then there's another rematch from the US Open. I feel like I've said that on every preview at the Australian Open so far, and that's Andrei Rublev versus Grigor Dimitrov. Rublev caused a big upset at the US Open, beating Dimitrov in straight sets. Now, Dimitrov's come into the Australian Open with a lot of expectations. This is his favorite Grand Slam. He made the semifinals last year, and then he had a fantastic year in the Masters tournaments, not necessarily in the rest of the Grand Slams. He won at Miami last year, and he finished the year by winning the prestigious ATP year-end championships. So the expectations are really high on Dimitrov. I think he has the better all-round game than Rublev, but it's in a similar way to Kostyuk versus Svitolina. I think Rublev can hit a bit more fearlessly, and Rublev is in good form. After all, he made the finals at Doha 2 weeks before the tournament started. I think an upset is possible again, but I think the fact that Dimitrov had such a scare against Mackenzie McDonald to qualify in the second round probably will enable him to refocus and make him realize. So I think that lucky escape might just edge him on. So I'm going to go with Dimitrov in four sets. And the last match that I'm looking forward to on day 5, which should really be a real firecracker, Jo-Wilfried Tsonga versus Nick Kyrgios. Two players who play with a lot of flair, big hitters, big serves, love coming forward to the net, love to make the point shot. I think we're going to see some excellent tennis in this game. Nick Kyrgios has even said that in many ways Jo-Wilfried Tsonga was his idol growing up. There's a 10-year difference between them, 32-year-old Tsonga versus 22-year-old Kyrgios. I think this is the time for Kyrgios. And the fact that Tsonga had to come through such a marathon emotionally and physically to beat Denis Shapovalov, I think that will take a toll on the Frenchman, even though Tsonga himself also loves playing at the Australian Open. I think the crowd's going to be behind Kyrgios. Kyrgios is playing some inspired tennis, and I think I'm going to give Kyrgios the match in 4 sets. I think Tsonga will stay strong for the first 2 sets, but eventually I think fatigue is going to creep in. He was already looking a bit tired against Denis Shapovalov, but he just pulled through. I think Kyrgios is playing with a better energy. I think he's just got that little bit more in his arsenal in terms of shot making. But nonetheless, at night, this should be an amazing match. I can't wait to see it. So let's hope we have another fantastic day of tennis in day five, at day five of the Australian Open. Though with the heat being a significant factor today as well, we can't be sure that players won't be affected by it. Nevertheless, it is interesting. It is intriguing. This is Wasim Parkar signing out. I'll be back tomorrow for more Australian Open coverage.